I see a lot of folks joining, just letting everybody know we're going to wait a couple of minutes, just give everybody a chance to get in the room before we get started. All right, we'll just give it one more minute and then we'll get started. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jessica Hennig. I'm the Senior Director of Global Partnerships at Partnerize. Just a quick reminder before we dive right in, if you do have any questions for the panelists throughout the chat, please use the chat functionality in the Zoom, and we'll keep an eye out for questions and answer everything towards the end. So just to set the stage for now, often the affiliate landscape and specifically partner type labels can come with some reputational challenges and a bit of misconception about the value that they can drive for the brands. So throughout the industry, many of us are really looking to challenge that status quo and really help bring the real value of partner types to light so that brands can really have a more clear value of the true diversity in their program and what these partners have to offer. So today we're joined by some of really the best, most greatest partners, I think, in the industry, for what I'm sure is going to be a very lively discussion about how they're currently challenging that status quo in the industry and their advice to help others create a more dynamic, meaningful partnership with many, many brands that drive profitable growth. So with that, I'd love to have everybody introduce themselves, and let's kick it off with Tony at Carterra.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jessica. My name is Tony Buglione. I'm the Senior Director of Business Development here at Carterra Commerce. I've been at Carterra for about 11 years, but I've also been in the affiliate industry basically my entire career, mostly on the publisher side in the loyalty space, and a brief stint on the advertiser side as well. So I'm excited to be here and share some of the experience and things that we're doing here today, but also just some of the industry information that I've learned over the last 15, 16 years. So for those who don't know, Carterra Commerce powers and provides shopping solutions for airlines, banks, and other loyalty programs as a shopping earn solution. So if you have points, miles, cashback, whatever the currency is, we actually help white label and provide those shopping opportunities so that consumers can earn more currencies that they love.
Thanks, Tony. Eric, how about you?
Yeah, hi, everyone. My name is Eric Scudder, and I'm a manager on the commerce team here at Sovereign. For those who don't know Sovereign, we are a sub-network who many of you may be partnered with that has many publisher relationships, and very excited to talk to you about how we can help navigate some of the misconceptions that you might have about sub-networks.
Nice. And Christine, last but not least.
Thank you. My name is Christine Locker. I am the founder of Locker. Been working on it for about 3 years, so we're definitely newer in this space. And Locker is a Chrome extension and social shopping platform that enables consumers to discover new brands, save and organize their favorites to collections when they're shopping online, and share product recommendations with others.
Amazing. So let's dive right in then. So first, let's kind of establish what that status quo is for each of you. Can you each share kind of a typical misconception that you hear from brands that you're working with about your partner type label? So Tony, do you want to kick it off since we went with you first anyway?
Yeah, no problem. So I think on the loyalty publisher perspective, I think one of the biggest misconceptions a lot of the times is that from an advertiser, working on the different commission structures, whatever it might be, is that loyalty may not be the first and foremost in the front of mind. Think about driving new to file acquisition, right? Because it's inherently, retention and loyalty based. But I think so you think about all the different aspects and tools that a lot of these, especially publishers and ourselves have built over the year to, attract new customers, or think about, we're always onboarding new frequent flyer program members or new credit card holders or people that understand the value prop of our product and our programs. There's certainly a lot of opportunity to hit new customers or do things that are a little bit different. So I think that's been one of the bigger things that I think over the last few years we've really driven home on the product side to understand and how we can get in front of consumers differently, whether it's cross-shopping bonuses, the newer merchants, or trying to do some dedicated to campaigns and deployments about newer retailers and getting in front of new merchants and a welcome messaging stream. So there's a lot of things that we've had to combat for sure. And I think that we may lose out on some commissions, honestly, because we don't have that ability to hit new to file or new customers all the time. But we're also doing a lot on the targeting side, the messaging, bonus structures, things like that as well. So that's for sure one thing that we've had to combat.
Yeah, it's a big one. That's a good call out. Christine, how about you?
Sure. So as I mentioned in my intro, Locker's first tool for saving these products from brands is a Google Chrome extension. And with that, we've just received a lot of pushback, whether it's from the brands or from their agencies. And what's different about Locker is that our extension actually doesn't pop at cart. So our tracking links are not initiating from the extension at all. So while they see extension in our application in the programs, it's been difficult to kind of get rid of their prior understanding of connotations. So our extension is utilized as a method of saving, but is not used at the point of sale. So, and I think we've seen what a valuable resource extensions can be as like a broader part of the affiliate industry, but I think sometimes they just have a reputation of being spammy or cannibalistic. And so we've definitely had to show our partners or our future partners what our value is and how we're different than kind of the extension landscape as a whole.
Nice. So using that extension more as like top of funnel approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that. That's what the brands are looking for. Eric, would love to hear you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the most common misconception I'd say that we hear as a sub network is that our traffic is low quality and that we don't offer transparency into that traffic. However, the reality is that we will always provide transparency into where your traffic is coming from. And we have a dedicated quality team who's tag certified. To my knowledge, we are the only sub network in this space that has that level of certification.
Wow. And I'm just curious, does Sovereign work with both Locker and Cartera on the subnetwork level?
I believe we work with Locker. Cartera, I am not sure we're working with Cartera.
Yeah, this historically we're almost a subnetwork of sorts in ourselves, just because we do actually do basically multiple iterations of the same type of templated program, whether it's hosted or an API solution that Cartera runs. But if we're running the program for American Airlines or United or whatever, we actually use one ID really in the affiliate networks, and then break out that traffic similar to yourselves. It's just that it's looking at these bigger, larger enterprise clients. So typically someone can log into the American Airlines program and see that they're on that program. So they can kind of do some of that validation themselves. But then there are ones that are also behind a credit card login, which they don't have if they don't have that specific credit card, like a Chase or a Citibank, for example. And so we have a little bit of that where we needed to prove our validation or the traffic or some of the split up of our percent of sales by program client on our side, which we do as well. So that transparency thing, definitely rings true on our side too. It's just a sub network concept, right? If you use that nomenclature versus almost the same idea, but it's just a little different use case.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes sense. So I'm sure each of you have encountered a situation where your partner type or your label was not specifically what a brand was looking for in a partnership that you were trying to create. So how do you use a situation like that as an opportunity to convey your value as a partner and maybe even hopefully change the narrative for these brands? So really anything jump in.
Yeah. So we often run into brands who've been burned in the past and have a very strict no sub network policy. It is a challenge, but we definitely view it as an opportunity to show how we differentiate ourselves from all the other players in the industry. Besides our commitment to quality and to transparency, we also like to think that our level of customer service really stands out from other sub networks.
Yeah, similar to Eric, we just being a Chrome extension, will get an immediate decline when we apply within the networks. So for us, it's having the opportunity to walk the potential merchant through the platform, showing them the flow of the user, what the experience is like, and showing them how the platform's already providing value for their brand. And then also using examples. So we love to use Pinterest as an example, that they also have a Chrome extension that's used as a tool for their users to save inspo. And so we do that in the same way, except the products that our users are saving are 100% shoppable. And that a lot of times really helps them realize that we are that more top of funnel Chrome extension. And once they see the platform and the Chrome extension in action, they actually get really excited about the value prop, like you were saying, Jess, that just this is we're a content publisher and we can provide so much value from a discovery and top of funnel perspective for the brands.
That's amazing. I do love that you can have that conversation with the brands and essentially change their initial perspective of what you guys are operating as.
Yeah.
I think on the Carterra side, there's a couple of things. I'd say a lot of the times it's a lot of data that we've had, right? So we can prove that, potentially our customers are a higher LTV or a better AOV than the standard affiliate programs that they'll either see it in loyalty or just overall. I also think, we don't just blindly accept like applications. So like if I log into a network now, I might have 100 applications, but really we have a dedicated person on our team that goes through the entire onboarding process, explains our programs, explains how we work with, different loyalty programs or cashback or points, points versus miles, whatever it might be. And then we'll also test in if we have to, if a merchant comes and says, hey, we're interested in trying this, but we don't want to go all in, right? We just want to maybe test it with one program or another. We can then demonstrate the value with that and then expand it to everything else. And we have different products and services as well. We also do Chrome extensions and other extensions for a lot of our airlines and a couple of FIs as well. So we have similar challenges where we need to potentially test into that or demonstrate the value or come up with different product solutions that meet the needs that aren't necessarily all about just that, either in-cart reminder or, ongoing reminder about shopping and earning. So there's a lot that goes into that. And I think as we're able to demonstrate that value, I mean, certainly our enterprise client base helps with that, right? Like you're associating your brand with American Airlines or Delta or Chase or whomever it be. So that certainly definitely helps the discussion, but having like 17, 18 years of experience and data helps to drive those conversations very well.
Nice. I mean, each of you kind of hinted on this, but Tony, you really hit the nail on the head there. We don't just accept anybody. And I think this is something really important that brands are needing to hear a bit more. Some of them get a little hesitation, right, when having new partner conversations. Like if it's not exactly this type of a partner that I want to work with, then maybe it's not worth the conversation. And I think what the three of you are starting to prove already is that it's worth the conversation because it may not be exactly what you think it is. There may be other opportunities within this partner to work together and achieve those goals. So that was really, really powerful.
I agree. And I'll say too, like there are conversations that we have and it's not a fit and we'll just say, great meeting you, connecting, and then move on. Or if it's the commission structure or if it's something on trial base, like there are certain things that we just cannot work with based on how we reward our customers on our system. And that's okay. It just happens to be the case of how they set up that program, but it might make that merchant or that advertiser say like, oh, maybe I should consider doing it differently for this type of publisher in the channel.
Yeah, like ultimately you want it to work for a long-term solution, not a short-term one-off partnership. Nice. So, I mean, you all just shared there's clearly tons and tons of value that you each offer to brands. So would love to hear a bit more about what are some key value points that you like to get across to the brands about your partnership that really help them to see the long-term value with you and like really hitting on that long-term value. Christine, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. So for us, it is really important that the brands understand that we are there to help drive discovery, building trust amongst their users or their consumers and our users, and really driving conversion for the brands. Because not only do our users curate their products or their favorite products into collections, but we as a company also help curate based on what our community is asking for. Like a good example, I don't know if all of you guys are Swifties or not, but like Taylor Swift concerts have started and all of our users have asked us for outfit inspo for Taylor Swift concerts. So we've just been tirelessly curating so many different collections of all the different Taylor Swift eras and like really serving the community and helping our brand partners pushing their products in front of our community. And then we've launched a new feature called Collages, which essentially allows our users to put products together and really visualize what they're buying. So it's, how do I wear those boots? How do I style those jeans? From like a furniture perspective, it's, does this lamp work with this bedside table? And really hoping to drive more conversion for the brands. So we are their partner. We're encouraging our users to make user-generated content and share their collections with their social channels. We're doing it on their behalf as well, and really trying to provide a lot of value over a long-term period and building that brand trust between their new consumers and their existing consumers.
Amazing. Eric, what about you?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest benefit of working with Sovereign is that by partnering with us, you have the ability to be promoted across a variety of publisher models, but still only get the traffic that you want. And we've also created a positive feedback loop through our various business lines. Our programmatic and exchange business informs our affiliate business and vice versa. Our data business informs our account management business. Sovereign is basically just a holistic monetization approach for anyone online looking to better understand, learn about, and grow their business. And by having solutions as wide-reaching as ours, we're constantly learning and iterating on how to help out our partners.
Yeah, that is a great benefit of Sovereign.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say slightly different like approach, right? So I think Carterra's model is very much a partnership driven opportunity and kind of a model that we run. So our account management or sales team has been in the business for a long time. So on average, we're about 11 years running, but we have some team members that have been in the affiliate industry for 20 plus years and some that are a little shorter duration. But I think, when we assign a brand to an account manager and that person, again, has been here for that many years or longer, or maybe shorter, but, we think about all those relationships as a long-term approach. And we look at, what are your goals, your seasonality, all the things that might align to all the different strategies or media placement opportunities or commission driving opportunities that we run. So it's looking at just in an entire year, whether we might be booking something month to month, we're looking out. And then that person's also going to be there next year to talk about, what did you do the previous year? What are you thinking about doing differently this year? How are you in your competitive category? So I think it's a different approach just because we're executing all these campaigns on behalf of another entity, right? Another brand, an airline, a bank, whatever. So that's been a huge way for us to drive that partnership and that long-term value. And then essentially we're also driving those results, right? Whether again, it's new customers or just repeat shopping, whatever it might be. Hopefully sometimes our volume speaks for itself, but if it doesn't, we need to obviously work through that with our different partners and figure out how we can optimize with maybe a different airline or a different program. So those are a lot of the conversations we have, but I think it's definitely that long-term kind of strategy we have.
Amazing. So just a reminder, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we will get to them at the end. So jumping right into the next question here. So partner type labels aside, in order to really challenge that status quo, it does require sort of a collective effort from industry parties like yourselves to advance and progress and really innovate. So I would love to have each of you share examples of how your respective organizations are really helping drive innovation and expansion within the category. So Eric, I would love to hear from you first about Sovereign.
Yeah, of course, definitely. So we view ourselves as a technology company. So innovation is extremely important to our partners. Recently, we've implemented real-time tracking. So publishers and merchants can see clicks or sales as soon as they come in. This is a huge step up from the 48-hour delay that we previously had. So now publishers can optimize on the fly when they see a placement is performing well. In addition, we have our comparisons product that offers a set of tools and brings price and merchant comparisons directly onto publishers' pages. That provides readers with choices when making a purchase and publishers with increased revenue. And we've seen that merchants that are included in price comparisons are seeing a 200% increase in click-through rate and in conversion rate.
That's huge. I mean, I know I'm definitely a price comparison kind of shopper, so that's hugely helpful.
Absolutely.
Christine?
Sure. So I think where we fall here in innovation, one, we're always asking our users what they want to see next. So we're really building the platform around them and their desires in the shopping and curation space. But I think on that same curator note, we've seen how important the creator economy is in the affiliate industry. And we lean even more so into curators. So really giving space to what's considered like the everyday shopper to be a curator and to be able to share what he or she is loving and sharing them with their friends, and they don't have to be what was quote unquote called like an influencer. So really leaning into every shopper and giving them that space to be a curator and democratizing that creator economy as it exists today.
Yeah, essentially expanding the creator economy to everyone.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Tony, what about Cartera?
Yeah, I think similar to Eric. I mean, we are so much a product-driven company. We have multiple prod squads. We have multiple just iterations of all the different things we do. But I think some of the merchant data has definitely gotten better, especially on the product side. I think for the last couple of years, that's definitely helped kind of push some of that price comparison, product comparison things that we're doing on our front end hosted solutions, as well as within the browser extension, actually. But I think the other component that I will say is, we're using a lot of the transactional data that we're getting from merchants to do different things like targeted merchant bonuses on our platform, or broad-based spend and get bonuses that we can do with the airlines and banking partners. So that gives us a different tool in our toolkit to go to a merchant and say, we're not just doing the always on 2% cash back or 2 miles per dollar. We can also offer spend X and get 500 bonus points or bonus miles, whatever it might be. So that's one of these kind of tools that we've iterated on that makes it a little bit, more sticky, more better for our merchant partners, but also the consumers of those programs to, earn larger chunks of points and miles, which has always been really great for retention and whatnot. So I think a lot of that coming from the affiliate industry has helped kind of think differently. I mean, loyalty was kind of built out of this idea of, hey, we can take this commission and give some of it away and see what happens, right? And I think we've all kind of moved that loyalty up a huge notch with our parent company Rakuten and Honey doing whatever they're doing. Cap One now kind of pulling in different options. So the marketplace has certainly built out this very large ecosystem, leveraging these rails. And we're certainly taking advantage of all those data points as we can to kind of move the needle as well. So I think that's one of our biggest drivers this last 6 months last year, and what we are heavily focused on this year too.
Yeah, I love that. All about that data. So last question from me, and then we actually have quite a few in our Q&A, so we'll get to that next. But very last question here, what is the best piece of advice you can actually offer other partners in the industry who may have similar experiences when discussing their value and building long-term partnerships with their brands? Because I think we all know it's not just the three of you that are having these struggles, it's pretty much everybody across the industry. So any advice? And anyone can kick
the best advice that I can give would be to be responsive. The longer you wait to get back to a customer who's upset or has issues, the more distress you're creating. And as a sub network, maintaining trust is absolutely vital.
Yeah. On that same note, for us, it's just being as transparent as possible. So hearing their questions, understanding their concerns, and being able to show them who we are as a company, what we do, and what value we provide. And then I think also for us being a newer publisher in the space, and for other publishers who are also new and may have limited resources, I think it's just being as thoughtful as possible with the partnerships that you take, and being able to provide that value that you say you do, so that it's a good relationship long-term. So if you don't have the capacity for something right now, like turning it down and saying like, we would love to work with you in the future. So just being mindful of not over-promising and under-delivering.
Love it.
Yeah, I think the big thing, I'd echo both of those things for sure. I think the transparency, the validation of what you're doing today, certainly as a newer publisher, is important. I would also say it's a marathon, not a sprint sometimes. Like if you're just looking for short-term wins and gains really fast, like that might not be the best solution for some publishers in our channel. I mean, it's a very simple thing to get started, but it's a very hard thing to keep it going, right? And I think, when we approach a relationship, like I said earlier, it's not just going to be for the first 6 weeks or 6 months. It's going to be years, and kind of, figuring out how to grow that program, optimize it with dedicated account teams and whatnot. And I know there's value in different kind of, opportunities and options within, all the different segments of the channel. So if one thing's not working for you, hopefully it's something else does work for you. And maybe there's ways to things like this, like panels or your network or agency that you're working with would certainly be the people that make connections for you, and really, see if you can connect with someone that you've never talked to before, or really kind of break down those walls that doesn't make sense, or you're if you're fearful about it, but maybe strategically internally, they might not want that on your brand. So I think those communications, those conversations are just easy to have. And I think there's several industry events and other kind of retailer events that make that possible in the affiliate channel. So, or any of these networks, obviously, to help you kind of reach out and make those connections.
Amazing. Thank you guys all so much for that advice. I hope there's tons of brands on this call just listening and taking some notes, because these are just 3 amazing partners in the space that are taking full advantage of how can they better communicate with their brand partners, how can they better share their value, and how can you guys better all have amazing revenue driving partnerships. So I hope this was really, really helpful, but I do want to dive into some other questions that we have from the audience. So one that came in is from Mary Grace. She asked, what's an example of a brand doing a great job utilizing affiliate partnerships, and how can other brands learn from them? And just with this question, feel free, no naming names or anything, but if there's an example, feel free to share it.
I think that having up-to-date product feeds, up-to-date offers in the network, and communicating those to the various partners that you have, I think that goes a long way. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, for sure. We certainly have like a list of best practices, especially in the loyalty space, of things that you're almost required to do to some degree, like paying attention to your order inquiry tool. Like that might be something very small for some publishers because it's not as important. For some in the loyalty space, it's huge for us, right? Like if your customer care is reaching out to you to try to find out if something didn't track and why, that is one of the biggest things that we have to be concerned about on our side. So there's things like that. I think, to your question specifically, I think there are some big retailers and merchants out there that are just going to do well because of their brand recognition. There are some that are certainly a little smaller. It might take a little bit more unique, positioning around specific coupon codes or specific seasonality campaigns and things like that. So, I'm specifically reaching out to each one of these publishers that you're trying to optimize with and think through, what do I want to do as my needs and goals? And can that either specific publisher or this group of publishers in this publisher type meet those goals? Like that's huge to think about first and foremost. And so maybe it is a big coupons generator and that's all you're looking for, or maybe loyalty is the right way, or something that's more content focused. So I think it's really understanding what your goals are before you're starting to go out and select publishers or reach out to them.
Christine, anything to add?
No, I think they both answered that really well.
Perfect. So one last question. I know we've got just a couple minutes left. Have you seen your core demographics change as buyer shopping habits have changed post-COVID? Kind of an interesting question there.
Christine?
Yeah, I think that because we've been leaning into buy now, pay later. Sorry about that, Tony. Didn't mean to cut you off. Because we've been leaning into buy now, pay laters, our demographic has slightly shifted to a younger demographic. More younger people are using buy now, pay laters, as we know. And besides the younger demographic, I would say that they are also like higher intent. We've seen higher conversion rates, higher average order values, because it's easier to make a bigger purchase when you can split it into 4 payments. So yeah, those are all things that I would say.
For ours, our core demographic is your millennial, Gen Z. We're very highly skewed to female. So we actually haven't seen our core demographic change. I think we've just been able to kind of detect their shopping behaviors and what they're shopping for kind of over the course of COVID. So for example, this sounds like so cliche, but like loungewear and like walking attire, workout attire was so heavily saved on the platform, and collections were really driven towards that. And now we're seeing people like spring break, I'm going on a vacation to XYZ place. And so we're really able to see where their shopping intentions are, what they're looking for, kind of like what their intended shopping behaviors are. And we've just been following it through COVID, and as people kind of ebb and flow with what's going on in society as a whole.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We definitely saw, we don't get a ton of demographics just because we aren't owning that customer typically, but we obviously see the category shift and what's being spent on what. pets became like our number 3 or 4 category, I think, over COVID. So that was interesting, and that's still really consistent. So as people, decided to stay home and get that, animal that they never had before. So that certainly was an interesting kind of trend that we're still seeing today, and kind of as people still continue to do that shopping online. That was interesting to see. But I mean, overall, I think the demographics have been consistent. Some of the airlines doubled down on their frequent flyer programs, some of the banks didn't. So it was just a different ebb and flow about from our specific business about where those consumers might have really escalated from. And one thing, this is a hot tip: if you're American Airlines flyer, every dollar you spend on any of the partners they work with goes through status. So that's been a very big thing for the American Airlines program.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys all so much. Thanks to everybody on the call for joining and for listening in. You heard from 3 amazing partners today, and I hope you'll go back and rewatch and hear everything that you hopefully didn't miss, but I always want to make sure you get all the key points that they shared today. So thank you, everybody, again. Thank you, Tony and Christine and Eric, for a great conversation. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for the invite. Have a good one.
Bye.